Okay, I had to start a whole new stream because YouTube I had to start a whole new stream. YouTube switched up everything on me. Head over there. This isn't even gonna be worth watching. I'm gonna spend half my time trying to get the get everybody in the right room. I'm so sorry, you guys. YouTube switched it up on me. I'm not that smart and I'm not that quick. So I didn't realize that this had switched up until I sat down to figure it out. Revised link. And go to Davis Nation. Revised link into Davis Nation. Go to davisnation.locals.com to find out. Revised link. I'm really sorry. I didn't realize that this technology had switched up like that. And so, all right, where are we? We're here now. All right. Hi. Oh, you guys came. Thank you. You made it. I'm so sorry. I'm such an idiot. I can't wait until I'm rich enough to like pay somebody to do this stuff. Anyways, I'm not rich enough to pay anyone to do this stuff, but I am talkative enough to make up for the time that I've missed. Okay. Welcome back. Thank you for coming over. And I'm really sorry. And I'm sorry to those of you who are watching the replay and going, yeah, I just had to spend the first 2 minutes watching Kira figure out how to replay her live stream. Uh, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. Okay, that being said, I've had such a busy day today, but I've been trying to write this op-ed all day, but I've been having to stop and start it. But I wanted to talk about cancel culture today because I want to talk about this article. I'm going to put it in the chat room right now. The Root is one of my go-to sources for what's going on these days. Here, let me close some of these other windows so I'm not going back and forth. Excuse me. And I wake up and in the mornings, a lot of times I'll check Twitter just to see what's trending. And that's just useful for my job. And of course, I follow a lot of the grievance accounts, and The Root is one of the biggest grievance um, blogs out there. They used to be good. It's so sad to see what happened to them, but I think it's happened to a lot of us, right? You start chasing the clicks. The left isn't immune to that, by the way. We on the right do that a lot. We formulate our headlines, and we do that at Red State. We formulate our headlines to get the maximum clicks. We're not going to give away too much. We want you to be curious about what's inside the article because we get paid from your click, not from your share. So I get it that is if you can't balance it correctly with seriousness and intelligence, then it can get out of hand. So it happens on the left, happens on the right. No one's immune from it, regardless of ideology. And The Root has become like that. So I wake up to this story on The Root today, and it says, the title is Ellie Kemper, who appeared on TV show that actually starred Titus Burgess, outed as former KKK princess on Twitter. There's so much in that headline. So many things stood out to me. First of all, Ellie Kemper, whom I love, I'm a huge fan of. I love Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. It is a ridiculous and absurd show, but a great follow-up for Tina Fey to 30 Rock, which is another show that I recommend. If you have not watched it, it is really, really good. And so she produced Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and it's a bizarre and great show. I really like her. Plus, she's in one of my favorite movies of all time, Bridesmaids. And I don't know anything about her politics, but I just kind of assume that she's just a default Democrat or a default liberal because, she's in Hollywood. So I've never even questioned. Yeah, Kelsey says you love Kimmy Schmidt too. Yeah, I love Kimmy. I love Titus Burgess in that show. I love everything he does, and actually the whole cast is really great. John Hamm showing up is like a bizarre cult leader. Matt Damon. Oh no, Matt Damon. I'm getting my shows mixed up. Matt Damon came out on 30 Rock, which was hilarious. They had a lot of good cameos there too, but Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt has a lot of good cameos. And another great Tina Fey show that only takes 2 seasons was Great News. Rachel says Great News. Oh, I haven't seen that. Okay, cool. Well, I'll check it out. I'm a big Tina Fey fan, and I'm also a Rachel O'Dell fan, so if you say check it out, I will check it out. But that headline, there was so much. Okay, I love Ellie Kemper. How can she possibly be a KKK princess? She's a Hollywood darling. She's got to be Democrat left wing. Let me read this story to see what insane thing she got herself involved in. And I'm thinking it's gotta be I'm gonna read the story and I'm gonna see her calling somebody the N-word or her dressed in a grand wizard, like, KKK outfit. Somehow, one of those things is gonna be there because this headline is that it was on their front page too. This isn't something that was buried, it was on the front page, and this is breaking. And the way they formulated Ellie Kemper, who appeared on TV show that actually starred Titus Burgess. I mean, it was a show that had a black man in it, so this is a huge scoop. Scroll down. Okay, Ellie Ellie Kemper, blah blah blah. Here she is, and Ellie Kemper has been outed as a KKK princess. Oh, here it is. Here is the proof that Ellie Kemper is a member of the KKK and deserves to be canceled. Well, I'm quoting the author now. Apparently, the rabbit hole was opened when it became apparent that there are basically clan balls in Kemper's native St. Louis, Missouri. They're called veiled prophet balls, and they were historically exclusive to elite white folks. According to Newsweek, African Americans were eventually allowed to join in 2020. No, I'm just kidding. 1979. 1979. 1979. Uh, okay, here's more information about it. It's held annually every 4th of July, usually in downtown St. Louis. It's the America's known as America's biggest birthday party. Um, that's all you need to know, basically, blah, blah, blah. And then some racist white people participated in it. And I get so I'm reading the whole article. I'm reading it again because I had to read it 3 times. Even now, as I'm reading to you, I'm actually skimming this article again. Did I put it in the chat room? My God, I would forget my head if it wasn't attached to my shoulders. Um, so I'm reading again and I'm thinking, I'm missing something that like, did I skip over the sentence? I'm not always the most observant person. So I went back. No, okay, she didn't call anyone anything terrible. She didn't say anything terrible. She didn't wear like maybe she was in blackface, you know? Nope, didn't wear anything terrible. In fact, there's nothing about Ellie Kemper in this article except her name. Otherwise, it's just about how once upon a time, this ball, the Veiled Prophets Ball, which is apparently a big deal in St. Louis. I'd never heard of it before. I lived in St. Louis when I was a young post-college student, but I didn't, live there for very long. Never heard of it. Oh, Rachel D wanted to pop in. She said, "Hey, Kira, I wanted to pop in and tell you that you're helping break the monolith in the echo chamber on the right. Keep going." Thank you, Rachel. I needed to hear that today. It's anyways, we won't get into that inside baseball right now, but it gets a little rough out here in these streets. Anyway, so I'm thinking, okay, veiled prophet ball sounds a little weird to me, but I've also spent a lot of time in the South and they do all kinds of crazy stuff in the South. I mean, ever been to a Southern prom versus a prom in, like, the northern part of the country? Just different traditions, and I'm sure some of them are rooted in racism. I mean, okay. Anyways, here's the argument I wanna make because this is the argument that the author of this article seems to wanna make. That because it had racist roots, somehow Ellie Kemper, who hasn't participated in it since 1999, 20 years after Black people were allowed to attend the festival, although why would you want to after that? But whatever, they realized the error of their ways, like the Mormon church, they decided to change doctrine, to accommodate changing views on the issues. But 20 years after that, Ellie Kemper was the VP princess, and it is now 20 years after that. And that is the extent of Ellie Kemper's guilt. So 1999, now I'm imagining she's about 17 or 19 years old. Is she supposed to know the history of the VP ball? Are those the rules we're going by? This is my thing. This is the whole point of this. This is my thing. We can do this. These can be the rules if you want them to be the rules. Now I'm talking to you guys on the left now, who are the purveyors of cancel culture. And I know a lot of folks like to say, hey, the right cancels folks too. The right has their own version of cancel culture, but I would say cancel culture, the influence of it lies on the left. Right now we're seeing it eat their own. Because if you want to play by those rules, let's play by those rules then. Let's play by those rules. Okay, Ellie Kemper is guilty by reason of association because when she was a teenager in 1999, she performed in this ball that has racist roots. All right. Do you support Planned Parenthood? Imaginary liberal who's definitely not watching this live stream. Do you support Planned Parenthood? Because for years, us pro lifers have been saying Planned Parenthood is guilty of being rooted in racism, is based on established on the racism of Margaret Sanger, who was notoriously viciously racist, a horrible human being. I mean, you need not look any further than some of her statements about lying to the Negro and controlling Negro populations and using pastors in Negro communities so that the message of killing their own babies would be more palatable to them because we needed less of them because they were a scourge. They were a burden on society. You need only look to you only need to look to the results of who's getting the majority of the abortions and where the abortion clinics are. But more than that, this past, fall or spring this past spring, Planned Parenthood actually issued a statement that admitted that their roots were racist and admitted that Margaret Sanger was a racist and that they need to start distancing themselves from her. So, my dear friends, if you support Planned Parenthood, are you not supporting racism because they are rooted in racism? Or is it not the same thing? If should every person who has supported Planned Parenthood now have to give a mea culpa, now have to hire a publicist to issue an apology through and go on an apology tour now? Because these are the rules you set up. So if you wanna set up those rules, then by all means, let's use them. I'm in favor of it. I've written several articles about it now. I think we have to start holding cancel culture to their own rules. So if you're driving a car, you should probably get out of that car and get on a bike because I am sure that the person who invented the car is a white person who has very problematic views about race and segregation and racism in this country. I'm positive. I'm not even sure about the bike. I don't, I mean, if it's white people that invented it, and these are the rules we're going by, and whiteness itself is sin, is racism, as I've been reading in, White Fragility and Ibram Kendi's book that I'm reading also, um, such a slog. But anyways, I'm doing the job Americans just won't do. And, according to them, it's whiteness that is the sin, right? It's whiteness that automatically makes you a racist. You can't escape from it, no matter what you think. So, if that's the case, then every time you engage in something in any kind of commerce or any kind of transaction that was established by a white person, are you not supporting racism? Give up your car, give up your bike. Um, don't listen to music by people who are beholden to the white overlords at record labels. Don't watch movies made by black people who are beholden to white overlords at studios. I mean, we can go on and on and on. Hollywood has a terrible history of racism, which many might suggest continues to many on the left, not even the right. I've seen people on the right make these points, but many on the left might not even continue, might even say that it continues to this day. And yet we are still wholly and completely engaged in that. Um, it's just if these are the rules we're playing by, no one's gonna win this game, and frankly, I'm fine with that. I think everyone should lose this game, and that is why I am very adamant about making those who perpetrate this ideology play by their own rules. It's like I can't change them. And I'm not trying to be mean. I'm really not. Because people who tune into my podcast, Just Listen to Yourself, a lot of times they tune in because they want some even-handed um, discussion about how to see both sides of the issue. And I feel very strongly about that. And I'm always down to have an honest and decent conversation based in good faith with people that I disagree with, of course. But sometimes the conflict can be, and I've had this posed to me, like, how do you stand up for what you believe in without seeming pushy or without seeming mean about it or seeming like you're getting petty, right? Like, how do you push back with grace? How does grace and pushback, how do they fit together? But I just think if you're using logic, it should be fine. Like, I'm not going to allow illogic to dominate my conversations just because it might seem ungracious. You know, the most gracious people I know do not tolerate gobbledygook. And I'm just kinda done with the gobbledygook. I I I drew my line in the sand at critical race theory. I just thought when I started digging in, not what I was reading on. I'm a little bit concerned about some conservatives out there who are saying that people are making a big deal out of critical race theory when they don't really know what it is, and they're just like anything that is pro-black, they're labeling critical race theory, and maybe that's true. I have no idea. Alls I know is that I'm reading this, right? I'm studying it, and I'm looking at it and thinking, this is a scourge. This is anti-God. This is as clear as day as it gets for me. So I can graciously humor your opinions on the issue, but for me, I don't feel that there is a debate. And so where I see it, I will push back. That doesn't mean I have to make it personal. I don't have to make it personal to you. What is Ayan? Rachel says Ayan, her CLE calls it criminal race theory. Right? Yeah. Hi, Tommy. Hi, Tommy. Um, like David French, yeah. Excuse me while I itch my perpetually itchy shoulder. Um, yeah, like David French and some other people. But when it comes to cancel culture, I think it's perfectly fine to push back. Now, I think the way you do it with grace is not getting personally insulting. And I'm not always good at that. Fair enough. You know, if you go to my Twitter timeline, it'll be up and down. It'll be some days I will just be short with people and very insulting or very, curt. Maybe not as insulting as other people are, but, you know, to me, to my mind, it's insulting. It's not gracious. And but that's, you know, that's me being frustrated. That's me, spending too much time on Twitter. Sometimes I gotta get off Twitter and remind myself that I need to, like, take a step back, chill out, go to church, which is something I haven't been able to do regularly. But so I think when you make it personal, that's when it snide. Thank you, Leroy. When you make it personal, that's when it gets ungracious. But there's nothing wrong with saying, what you're saying is gobbledygook, and I want you to be accountable to your own logic. And I think we really need to start holding people accountable to their own logic. I mean, it can be conservatives, liberals, whatever. You know, I'll poke a few conservatives every now and then and say your logic isn't good here. You need to be able to extend that all the way out to its logical conclusion, and then you'll see like actually what you're saying isn't what you're meaning. But but for now, in this issue, I am perplexed by what is happening on the left with this. But this is what was always gonna happen. You let this illogic run away, and suddenly the people who are logical are left without voices. No response from Ellie Kemper and her publicist so far today, even though The Root says they reached out to her, which I'm trying to imagine. Like, "Oh, yes, in my very important job today, I reached out to Ellie Kemper's publicist to see if she had any comment for that thing she did in 1999." I mean, it's just it's just so crazy. It's so insane, and but when this was happening, people like Tina Fey and Amy Poehler and a lot of those people from that comedy set and that Hollywood set, they were silent, and as a matter of fact, they took up for the woke scolds, you know, this is not cancel culture, this is accountability. And you know what? It was never gonna go any other way but them getting eaten by their own, and now what? Like, these things are nipping at Tina Fey's heels. She's already had to, delete I mean, it's erasing history. It's so crazy. She's already had to delete some episodes of 30 Rock because they included blackface, which is there another word I can use besides crazy? Insane? Ridiculous? Like, if you go and watch the episodes, they're very salient commentaries on the ridiculousness of such a thing and the racism of such a thing. Just the fact that they exist, they were supposed to go. But see, she bent the knee and then it's too late. Once you bend that knee, you never get back up. There's no apology you can this is the problem with critical race theory. There's no way out. There's no grace. There's no redemption. It is eternal punishment and eternal, penance. So it's just it's a bad theory from the start. Um, Kelsey says, "I like when you go there on Twitter because you let the trolls know you're playing by the rules they set." Right, like, these are your rules, just draw it out to your logical conclusion, you know? Just Tommy says, "What about people like Kevin Hart?" What do you mean, Tommy? Like, Kevin getting canceled because of right? He had a tweet, like, a million years ago too, right? Isn't that why he got canceled? Crickets, right? They all bent the knee, and and there you'll get canceled for it. You will. There's no coming out on top for this. By the way, folks, I guarantee you it is only a matter of time before Colin Kaepernick gets canceled. Tommy brought him up in the chat room. Yeah, it's only a matter of time. You can't look at that woman, Patrice Cullors, right? Like for the that runs Black Lives Matter. She is canceled now, right? It was only a matter of time. You can't because everyone's a freaking hypocrite. And when you hold everybody in some way or another, we're all hypocrites. You hold people to this impossible standard of perfection, you're always going to fall. And then you have no choice, right? But to do what you said you were going to do, which is cancel those people, hold them accountable. Alexi McCammond, what a 27-year-old Black woman getting the dream job of a lifetime, editor-in-chief for Teen Vogue, which is like a step away from Vogue. You know what I mean? For a Black woman to get that close. Anna, what's her face, Wintour, she doesn't like Black people. You know what I mean? So to even let one get that close, it's like, that's a big deal. Huge accomplishment for a 27-year-old woman at that. And yet she got canceled because of tweets she made when she was 17, 10 years ago. Now she's a liberal, but I still don't think she deserved to be fired. I don't. I was sick. My mother's heart was broken for her. Just thinking about how proud she was. She poor baby. She got fired the first day, first day she was gone. But at the same time, I was like, Alexi, this is your culture. You set it up. These are your rules. You did this. And you've got to live with your own rules. If we don't hold people to this impossible standard, then no one's ever going to realize that no one's ever gonna I'm just reading the chat room. Rachel said, "Yeah, Patrice, deserved it. The problem isn't being hypocritical, in my opinion, it's being so loud about it." Right. That's exactly it, right? Like, everyone wanna be so loud about it. You should be careful what you say out loud because you will be held accountable for it, and that is a true fact of public life and one that a lot of left-wingers or progressives have not had to come up against because they kind of own the media narrative and own the culture. And every one of them makes this mistake. Every one of them makes this mistake that the rules are never going to apply to you because those people over there are bad, but these people over here never bad. But that's just a tragic and naive misreading of human nature, and that's informed that your ideas about what the rest of America looks like are informed by what you see on TV, which is made by people like you, instead of actually getting out there and living with people and understanding how diverse America is in race and thought and lifestyle. And so that's a really easy trap for Hollywooders to follow into when they do the all of the time. Isn't the real problem people like Rachel Dolezal, to Tommy says. You know, let's talk about Rachel for a second here because, um, well, what was really interesting about her is that when I this is apropos of nothing, it has nothing to do with what I just talked about, but you reminded me, Tommy. Um, when that story broke, and she was a huge fundraiser for the NAACP, right? Yeah, right where she was, and did and did speaking engagements. I mean, she was really good. She was really good. And you know what? Um, when they interviewed the people that she worked with, almost to a person, every Black person that they worked with said they'd work with her again. That they all of them loved her. They said that she was passionate, that she was really good at her job, that she got it, and that they were mostly just disappointed that she lied like that, but if she wanted to kind of redeem herself and come back and apologize for that, they were actually ready to embrace her into in into that organization again. They actually people who knew her actually liked her, and also she does pretty good hair. She has pretty good black hair. I see it all the time. I'm like, I would go. I'd take her. I'd take my daughter to her. I don't know, apropos of nothing, but, yeah, she was really committed. Oh, hey, Leah, welcome. Um, thank you for finding us. I had technical difficulties because I'm an idiot, so I had to switch the stream in the last second, but all the non-idiots out there have found the show. And I'm talking about hypocrites and cancel culture, and this is what I think we need to do to end cancel culture is make sure everybody has to play by their own rules. And so I fully expect Tina Fey and Amy Poehler to have to answer for hiring Ellie Kemper. And but this is their own fault. They embraced it thinking that the beast wasn't going to turn back and snap on them. And that's not how it works because look at what's happening right now in academia. My parents are hippies. Their generation is running academia right now, and they indulged all these students that came up through the years, right? With all their okay, first we're taking on this cause and then that cause, and we're really open-minded, and suddenly political correctness came into play, and that was a big joke for a while, but then it became very serious, and they humored these kids, and what happened? They were not woke enough for the kids. So now they're getting canceled, but they invited their own cancelers. Instead in woke culture, instead of having a chancellor, you have a canceller, and the chief cancelers are running the show now. So you can't invite this stuff in, and this is why I feel very strongly about conservatives, particularly if you're a religious conservative, um, being open-minded enough to understand that you live in a country full of all kinds of people and you're not gonna win every battle, and it's not how it should be, right? Some you lose, some you just don't have the moral high ground on, or some you just don't have the votes, and that's how it works, and it's a bummer, but, like, that's the downside of freedom. But don't let anyone shame you for drawing a line in the sand, and there are a lot of hashtag true conservatives out there who will do that and are doing that right now on Twitter right now as I'm talking to you, they're doing it right now. They're shaming you for drawing a line in the sand, that you're some kind of moron or some kind of idiot or some kind of hypocrite because this is an important issue to you. No, draw that line and stand there. Don't move further because we've seen what happens when you compromise. And if you lose because you didn't want to compromise, then that's fine. You take the L and you move on to the next battle because standing around whining about it isn't going to serve anyone, especially not you, especially not this movement. But there's nothing wrong with just sticking the pole in the sand and daring someone to run it over. And if they do, they do. But if they don't, then you won. Draw your line now. And I just think the only way that we're going to end cancel culture, I know there's like conservative intelligentsia out there who want to be like, we're better than that. I don't think the better than that argument is working. Maybe we're better than that. Maybe we're not, by the way. I'm not going to assume every conservative is better than that. I'm no better than anybody. That much I know. That much I know. So I'm not gonna put that onto anybody else. Am I better than that? I don't know, but I'm smarter than that, you know? I'm smart enough to know that if you set out a playbook and you say these are how the rules work for the people you don't like, you have no leg to stand on to explain to me how the rules don't apply for the people you do like. That it doesn't intellectually follow. So, if you're gonna cancel Ellie Kemper for an appearance at a stupid ball that no one outside of St. Louis has ever heard about or cares about at all, that ended its racist policies in 19 freaking 79, you know, close to 50 years ago. If you're gonna hold her to that and call that accountability, then y'all better be ready to be accountable for everything. Everything. Be accountable for who owns your studios. Right? Uh-oh. Be accountable for who writes your scripts. Be accountable for who owns your music. Be accountable for who runs your social media. You need to be accountable for who owns the house you live in now. Was it built by a racist? Was it occupied by racists? Do you know? You should know. Is it not your responsibility to do your diligence and find out every single detail of an object before you engage in using it, just in case you need to be accountable? This is a rabbit hole that we do not wanna go down. But I'm not utilizing cancel culture in because I'm a hypocrite as a conservative. You know what I mean? There are a lot of people, conservatives and liberals out there on Twitter right now who will say, "You are a hypocrite for engaging in cancel culture." Conservatives engage in it as well. Conservatives have their own version of cancel culture. That's not in dispute. Just pick your washed up pundit, Christy Dome. You say one thing, boom, it's done. I'm not unfamiliar with that. But I don't think that it's intellectually dishonest to say, I don't agree with this, but if y'all are gonna do this and just play by the rules, bye Alexi McCammon. Sorry, Ellie Kemper. Them's the breaks. Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, looking like you're next. I don't know. It's probably not good enough to have just erased those 30 rocks from existence. There's a lot you're gonna have to explain. So, yeah, this was what was occupying my mind all day. I'm gonna drop a op-ed. So if you're not into listening, or if you don't want to share this like a video with people, but you'd rather share an article, I think the op-ed I'll probably drop it tonight or tomorrow, once I get it wrapped up. But yeah, that's my Rachel here says, watching the left makes me think of what I'm reading in the Gulag Archipelago. The Soviet revolutionists of 1917 were in political prison by 1937. The World War II soldiers were in prison by 1950. No one is safe. Rachel, I'm so sorry, but we're gonna have to cancel you for making a World War II analogy, because we're not allowed to do that anymore either, apparently. Oh man, I hate to do it, Rachel, but we gotta play by the rules. These are the rules. You're not allowed to use any kind of analogies anymore. Um, I hope we remember that the next time we have a Republican president who was hashtag literally Hitler. Look, I'll say this. I'm all for making people own their logic, making people accountable to the logic that they put forth. If you can make your argument and you think it's a good one, give it to me. I'm not afraid of a good argument, and I'm not even afraid to say, "Wow, that's a good point," and move on. I may sting a little inside because no one likes to be wrong, but, you know, make that argument. But there are too many people out there who are like, "I'm saying something that sounds good, and therefore it is good, and I never need to examine it any further." That is what Just Listen to Yourself is about. Examining what you believe, and I engage in that process by giving you my opinions on issues, right? But the whole idea is just to draw everything out to what is it exactly that you're saying? If you're saying black people should have more access to abortion, what are you saying? To me, you're saying there should be fewer black people in the world. Draw it all the way out. Oh, I forgot to show you guys. I did this project with Nick Searcy. So fun. And we went to the gun range and we shot a whole bunch of guns. Can you see this? So we had our communist poster. At the end, there was 4 of us shooting. We were shooting for a film project he's doing on free speech. So there's 4 of us shooting, and then at the end, we just all unloaded on this poster. So I got to take mine home. But I met this super cool guy named Andy. I'm gonna have him on the show. I'm gonna have him on JL2Y, but he's a Romania defector from Romania. And so he talked about his experience as as a young man growing up in communist Romania and how him and his wife escaped to the US, and now they see some parallels, especially here in California. So, yeah, he was super cool. He's got a Substack, which I'm sorry that I do not have the name of the Substack. You know what? Let me look because I bet it's in my Twitter messages because Nick had given it to me. No, it's not in my Twitter messages. It's gotta be in my text messages. We did exchange. So he is say blah blah blah. Shoot. All right, I'm gonna have to ask for it again. He's awesome. He's got a Substack that he does. He talks about life in communist Romania. It's pretty amazing. So go check that out when I let you know about it. Tommy says, I can't wait for you to have me on your show. Yeah, we're totally gonna schedule that, Tommy, in the future on some date on a day. Yeah, totally gonna do it, Tommy. Don't worry about it. Tommy is my good friend's husband, if you don't mind. Um, and the other thing I wanted to talk about before we go, when we're gonna go, I'm gonna open up the live chat over at Davis Nation. Go to davisnation.locals.com and we can keep chatting. It's a type chat. It's not like a video chat. We can keep chatting about this stuff. But I watched a Tina Turner documentary last night. Do you guys like Tina Turner? I love me some Tina Turner. I am in love with Tina Turner. Ever since I saw the movie, What's Love Got to Do with It, I was so fascinated by her story. And that movie turned me on to her music. Like, I remember her from the 80s, like her being a rock queen with that hair, but I didn't know anything about her story or who she was. I just remember my mom liked her because she was old. She was she was 40. My mom's like, "Wow, she's really rocking for 40," which back then seemed old. I mean, now I'm 46, so I'm like, I wish I was 40. But the documentary, I, Tina, on HBO, I can't recommend it enough. It was so good. And I think what I was noticing about her and in the story she was telling is that she'd just been through so much, not just with her husband, but, like, even before that to get her to a guy like Ike. She went through a miserable childhood. Both parents abandoned her and her sister. She had no idea how to be a woman, how to be a wife, how to be a mother, and she made mistakes, definitely, and she talks about how she feels terrible about she really let the kids be raised without her for a lot of the time because she was always working, always touring. And I think eventually down the road, those choices came back to haunt her. A couple of the kids are deceased now by their own hands and had their own demons to deal with. And I know she probably feels an incredible amount of guilt. But if you look at her story, what you realize is that she came with everything that she had to give and she gave it all. And it wasn't enough in some places, but aren't we all that way? But what I was so struck about her or by this documentary about her was that she never stopped. She never stopped. And I find myself getting frustrated, um, with myself because that's how I am. I'm never stopping. I'm always making a video, writing an article, working on a movie, working on a different project. Like, there's always something going on, and I don't know how to stop. But I just think that that is a survival instinct that you just carry into the rest of your life, but she never stopped. When she left Ike, she gave him everything. She was like, "I don't want this guy to own one piece of me, not one. I will give up everything. I will be dirt poor. He can have all the furs, the coats, the cars, the jewelry." And she said, "All I want is my name. That's it." And then she took her name and she didn't stop. She played bingo halls and festivals, and I mean, she toured nonstop because she had to make money then. She had to pay all of her bills, right? Because she had to pay all Ike's bills too, because she gave him everything, which meant she took on the debt. She never stopped, and even when people didn't know what to do with her in the '80s because she was R&B, but kinda rock and roll, and no one wanted to take a chance on a black rock and roll artist. She never stopped. She took every gig. She was never too good for anything. She was never too good to do anything. I don't know, it was such a it was the oh, private dancer concert. Leroy saw her private dancer tour. Oh, jealous. I never did make the time to go see her, which I deeply regret. What an inspiration. What an inspiration. I cannot recommend I, Tina enough on HBO. The music is great. Her story is greater. And it's also just very well produced too. It's a pretty cool production. Great interview with Kurt Loder in there, who wrote her autobiography, or co-wrote it. And yeah, Tina's the best. What a great example of a great American. Absolutely. Ah, it's so classy. And then the final shot is her home in Zurich, Switzerland, which she shares with her now husband, which has been her partner of, 40 years or whatever. But go girl. Goals. All right. Join me over at davisnation.locals.com right now. We're going to continue the live chat there. You can sign up at davisnation.locals.com if you like this conversation that we're kind of having and you want more of it. Come over there. And now we have unveiled annual subscriptions. So if you're like me and you don't like getting dinged every month for something, but you would just like to help support alternative voices out there, choose an annual subscription. And when you do, you will get 2 months free. I mean, it's a pretty great deal. Censorship free over there. We do not censor people. On Locals is a safe platform. Don't forget to listen to Just Listen to Yourself with Kira Davis, which is available wherever you find your podcasts. Follow me on Twitter at Real Kira Davis. And you can find my writings over at Red State, where I am editor at large. I'll see you over at Locals. Bye.